Ironically, I was diagnosed April 1st. Wasn't a joke, it was April 1st, 2024. Due to symptoms, they suspected that I had bladder cancer. So go in, put me under anesthesia, go into my bladder, and they removed two tumors from my bladder. Doctor comes into the recovery area. He goes, "Oh, I know they're cancer." So it was April 1st, took two tumors out. Yeah, it's cancer. It was a shock. I was working my way towards retirement. So I was working 30 hours a week and kind of enjoying things. My wife and I have always been what we felt was pretty healthy. We've always ate pretty healthily, pretty healthy lifestyles, maintained physical activity and so on. And so you think, I'm good. I shouldn't have any problems. And then you get hit with the big C word. You know, and you think, why me? And what did I do? I mean, I've always been living what I felt was a healthy lifestyle. My urologist seemed to think, in my earlier days, I was in the Navy and I was on board a nuclear submarine. And my urologist seemed to think that it may have been just exposure to the environment on board the submarine, and that it just kind of stays with you until at some point. The first thing I started when I was going to the bathroom and urinating, and at first I saw like something went in the toilet. I'm like, did I have something on my hand? It looked like a little speck. I'm like, what was that? Well, after a few times, I realized it was a blood clot, little tiny blood clot. And then that progressed to where I was urinating blood. And I mean, it was coming out red. And that freaked me out. So it's like, okay, something's wrong. I don't know, is it a kidney stone? Is it something else? I started Googling, you know, what could cause that, you know, and it could be kidney stones, it could be a variety, it could be cancer, it could be a variety of things. Well, I better go to the urologist. So I went to the urologist and they took a urine sample and they sent that off to pathology. And in the urine sample, there was an indication that there was cells in the urine sample that indicated a high-grade urothelial carcinoma. So they scheduled me for what's called a transurothelial resection of bladder tumor, which basically they go into your bladder and they cut the tumors out. And so I was scheduled for that April 1st. Go in, put me under anesthesia, go into my bladder, and they removed two tumors from my bladder. And then obviously when they did the procedure and they removed the tumors, that's where they verified. So going into that, there was suspect that there was an issue, but fortunately for me, it was categorized as grade 1, which grade 1 is non-muscle invasive, which means that, hey, it's on the surface, we can cut it out, we can remove it. They didn't tell me anything else to do. They didn't say, well, you know, you need to change your diet, you need to do this. It was like, okay, I want you to come back, would have been close to 3 months or whatever. I want you to come back and we want to go in and take another look. And I think initially it's like, hey, we want to see, you know, how frequently do we need to go in and take a look and see what's there. So again, I was under anesthesia. They went in and they cut out two more tumors, much smaller this time, but two more tumors. So, and you didn't say it was one that they had missed. So it looked like it was two more tumors had grown. After that, we had a meeting like a couple of weeks later to go back and discuss the results with the urologist. And the urologist said, well, our next step is to do what's called BCG, and don't even ask me to pronounce what it is. But essentially what the standard protocol for bladder cancer is this BCG treatment where it's an immunotherapy, and they put essentially a live tuberculosis virus. It's actually the tuberculosis vaccine, and it's a live virus that they put into your bladder through a catheter, and you hold it in your bladder for 3 hours, and then when you urinate, you have to urinate into a separate toilet from the rest of the family, disinfect it, bleach it, and so that's what, he said, we want to schedule that. One of the things that we've read and I've heard about the BCG treatment is there can be significant side effects. Like people that had to do the treatments may get flu-like symptoms for 2 or 3 days. And I actually read something recently about somebody got sepsis from doing BCG treatment. You look at what the conventional is, and there's a lot of cases where they do BCG, no effect. They do another round of BCG, no effect. So it's like, all right, well, now we got to talk about alternatives. Now we got to talk about, well, maybe we need to remove your bladder. And that is not a road I want to go down. I did not want to have my bladder removed, and I guess they make neobladders now where they make a bladder out of parts of your intestines and so on. And it's like all roads I didn't want to go down. My wife has always been more on the holistic side, alternative medicine, and nothing against Western medicine, but she's always looking for, how can the body naturally heal itself? What are the alternatives? And she had done a lot of research, and she said, well, for bladder cancer, they do this mistletoe treatment over in Europe. That's all they do. And so where can we do that here? And she came across Dr. Hancock, and she came across humanizing medicine. We met with the urologist, we had a conversation with him, and we were afraid he might fire us. But I've heard stories of some doctors that will say, well, this is what I recommend you do, and if you don't do it, I'm not going to treat you. No. So we had a conversation with him and said, well, I would like to, do this alternative treatment. And he said, well, you've got time. I'm open to that. And if it doesn't work, then we can do the BCG. We had already done a lot of research and kind of knew what the protocol was, how it would work, and we just needed to find a doctor that would do it. And we were fortunate enough to find Humanizing Medicine, find Dr. Hancock. And the whole team and Dr. Hancock, the whole team at Humanizing Medicine, Dr. Hancock has just been great throughout the whole thing. Very appreciative that we found him, and we've had lots of good conversations about lifestyle changes, dietary changes, which we were already doing. I had mistletoe. It stimulates your immune system. It helps to break down the protective barrier on the cancer cells. Before I hit the 6-month point, I did 3 follow-ups with Dr. Hancock. And then I had the, what they call is a cystoscopy, where they go in and they look in my bladder, and my urologist came and did the cystoscopy. They go in with a camera and they looked all around, and he's got a screen there so I can see what's on the screen. He's looking as clean as a whistle. Keep doing what you're doing. There was no side effects. I feel like my quality of life didn't change at all, other than the lifestyle and dietary changes I made, but that was all good. It's amazing that God has provided these natural plants that will provide healing to us, and we need to take advantage of that. If anyone I knew that said, I've got cancer, and where do you think I should go? I would direct them to Humanizing Medicine. I would say, this is who you need to go see. The day after I was diagnosed, my wife has been great. She has just followed the same protocol that I've done. She's like changed her diet, her lifestyle. So we started with the 3 or 4 day lemon water fast. So all we had was water with lemon squeezed into it for 3 or 4 days. And then we totally shifted our diet to salads, raw salads. We had salads for lunch, salads for dinner, and we had oatmeal for breakfast, and stayed on that protocol. And we did that for like 3 months. That was it made meals easy. What do you want to have for dinner? Salad. How's a salad sound? More than just leafy greens, we would put radishes and cucumbers and garbanzo beans and you name it. And my wife started making broccoli sprouts. For a good amount, we pretty much have continued that kind of a protocol. Have changed things up a little bit, but we still are, eat a lot of salads, eat a lot of vegetarian, vegan type foods. And my vitamin D level was low, so I would load up on vitamin D, vitamin C, and so really research the supplements to take as cancer fighters also, and learned about what foods are cancer fighters and what foods are cancer promoters, and discovered that for the most part, meats are more of a cancer promoter as opposed to vegetables. So we cut out meats, and so dietary changes, supplements, lifestyle changes. I completely cut out alcohol. Based on recommendations from Dr. Hancock, we got one of those portable little saunas that you sit in and your head sticks out of, and ordered it on Amazon. And so I did that. I would do that like 3 or 4 times a week, getting that and sitting that until I was sweating. And so, increasing your body temperature, which will help kill off those cancer cells. My first cystoscopy, where they went in and looked at my bladder after 6 months, and he said, clean as a whistle, keep doing what you're doing. And then went back 6 months later after that, and that one was clean. I showed up as a year being no evidence of disease. So, and then I'm scheduled for another one in March. And confident that it's going to be clean also. And I know Dr. Hancock has talked about the Signatera test. I've had multiple Signatera tests, and they've come back negative. I just most recently got results from one 2 days ago, and it was negative. So, continue to monitor everything and just keep ahead of it. So we were fortunate enough to be in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, and fortunate enough to have Humanizing Medicine here to be able to get that treatment here. We've noticed a lot of times when we go to the office, there's cars with license plates from Texas, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina. People come from all over. And so we just feel blessed that, hey, it's right in our backyard. It's really more on the human side of medical treatment, and not like, okay, doctor comes in, spends 5 minutes with you, all right, I'm going to write your prescription for this, and move on. I mean, we've truly felt that we really are getting a personalized touch. You hear of so many cancer stories that people are maintaining, but they're not completely healing. And so I think there is a little bit of a level of amazement there, like, hey, my body has healed itself. My body has gotten rid of this. And my wife and I say prayers together every night, and we thank God every day for the healing that He has provided, and continue to thank Him for providing healing. Doesn't mean that I'm going to cut out doing everything else that I'm doing, because like I said, God's given us the tools, and I need to use those tools. But yeah, I'm a little bit amazed that my body, but I also felt confident in it too. I felt that we're doing all the right things. And so I felt confident that my body would heal. Now that doesn't mean that every time I go in to get a cystoscopy for them to look in my bladder, that I might get a little anxiety ahead of time and be, concerned that he's going to go in there and say, oh, I see something, but I always try to put myself in a frame of mind that he's going to go in, he's going to look, and like he has said the last few times, clean as a whistle, looks good, keep doing what you're doing. Everything all cumulative, it was a collective effect. And I don't discount any one or the other. I've never felt like, oh, well, I probably could have just done all this and wouldn't have needed to do that. I think it's a collective effect, which you're now supercharging everything, really. And I would hate to think that I would say, well, I really don't need to change my diet. I think I'm okay. And then 6 months later, oh, well, you've had some tumors come back. You think about it, what if that was the one thing that you were missing? And not to say that, oh, well, it was, and to say, well, if it came back because I didn't change my diet, well, it was only your diet, it wasn't everything else. I totally agree. It's a collective effect. And like I said, you give your body the tools to heal itself. And God has provided us those tools. You give your body the tools to heal itself, and it will do it. But it's like you can't put siding on a house with only a hammer. You need a hammer and a nail. So you need all the right tools. Initially, it was like, why me? Why do I have cancer? What did I do wrong? But I feel like for me, cancer was a wake-up call. It was like God's way of telling me, you need to make some changes. I believe everyone needs to make their own decisions. And that's why I would tell anybody, do the research. Do your own research. Learn about your type of cancer. Learn about what the treatments are. Learn about what the life expectancies are. Do all the research. And then you need to make a decision, but it needs to be an informed decision. And everyone's different. I wouldn't say, oh, this is absolutely what you need to do. I would tell them what my thoughts are, what my recommendations are, what my story is, but ultimately it needs to be them that makes that decision. You hear the C word, you hear cancer, and you immediately think death sentence. And you do not need to look at it that way. You need to look at it like, okay, I've got this, let's address it. And let's find the best way to address it, and let's hit it head on. And you're gonna learn some stuff. You're gonna need to make some changes. But in the long run, it will be better for you.